Today, we're going to step into a really personal story, one that's set against the enormous backdrop of a world at war. This is the story of Betty and Fred, and how their lives were completely changed in just a couple of short months between February and April of 1943. This thought from Fred, it really gets to the heart of their entire story. It's such a powerful statement about resilience, isn't it? About that basic human need to build a future even when the present feels like it's completely falling apart. So let's set the scene. Our story kicks off on Valentine's Day, 1943, in Chula Vista, California. Now, this isn't a story from the front lines with soldiers and battles. No, this is the home front, where ordinary people were just trying their best to live their lives. And that's where we meet Betty and Fred, a young married couple trying to figure it all out. It's these little details that paint such a huge picture. This wasn't just any old dinner party. This was a wartime gathering. And something as simple as Betty's chocolate cake, well, that was a big deal. It represented careful planning, saving, and using up those precious sugar ration coupons, all for a little moment of joy. You see, the war was this constant presence. It wasn't just a distant headline you read in the paper. It was what people talked about right there at the dinner table, mixed in with everything else. So you'd have talk about the Allied forces in North Africa right alongside neighborhood gossip. And then a piece of news drops that kind of shifts the whole evening. Their friends, Rod and Eleanor, they announce they're expecting a baby. It's this incredibly joyful moment and, well, it's a huge turning point in the story, even though Betty and Fred have no idea yet. Another one of their friends, George, he raises a toast that it perfectly captures the feeling of the time. It's a toast to love, yeah, but it's also a toast to survival. It's about that shared hope of just making it through all of this together. Okay, so away from the dinner table, the war wasn't just something they talked about. It was their life's work. Both Betty and Fred worked at Roar Aircraft Corporation, which was a critical part of the whole war effort. They were building parts for bombers. And let me tell you, the pressure was on. Big time. For both of them. Fred was suddenly in charge of this growing, pretty inexperienced team, and he was trying to hit these almost impossible production targets. And at the same time, Betty was basically doing the job of a junior engineer, stepping up, proving herself every single day, but she wasn't getting the official title or the pay that came with it. But, amidst all that stress, they found these little moments of peace, like a perfect Sunday drive down to Coronado. Just a brief escape from the constant grind of work and worry. But that quiet moment, it was really the calm before a sudden, life-altering storm. Because just about a week after that perfect day, everything changes. Betty starts feeling sick. And not just, a little under the weather. Something felt profoundly wrong, in a way she just couldn't put her finger on. And the symptoms were so specific, and they were relentless. This constant nausea in the mornings, a kind of exhaustion that went right to her bones. And all of a sudden, she couldn't stand the smell of coffee or meat, things she used to love. Now, we might recognize those signs today, but for Betty, it was just this mysterious illness that wouldn't go away. So this question is just hanging in the air for them. She's thinking maybe it's a stomach bug that she just can't shake, but the worry, it's growing. What on earth is happening to her? And the answer, it doesn't come from a doctor, not at first. It comes at a St. Patrick's Day party, from the quiet observation of friends who had seen these exact same signs before. And then her friend Sally asks this one simple, gentle question that just stops Betty cold. And she has this jolt of realization with all the chaos of work and the war, she hadn't even noticed. And suddenly all those confusing pieces just start clicking into place. So, a visit to Dr. Harrison makes it official. It wasn't a stomach bug, it was a baby. And not only that, she was already 3 months along. I mean, that news is absolutely life-changing, and it lands with this weight of total certainty. So when Betty tells Fred that evening, this is his first reaction. Just stunned disbelief. You can almost hear the world stop spinning for a second as he tries to process those 4 little words. But then that disbelief it shatters. And this absolute wave of pure emotion just takes over. It wasn't just happiness, it was everything, all at once. Shock, joy, fear, all of it pouring out in this one powerful, overwhelming moment. And this quote from Betty, it just perfectly captures where they both were. They were so honest with each other about being scared, which I think just makes their happiness that much more real. They were facing this huge, unplanned change together, and they were feeling all of it. So they decide to share the news with their families on Easter Sunday. And it's so fitting, isn't it? On a holiday that's all about new life and hope, they were going to announce the coming of their own new life. And the family's reaction, it was just an explosion of pure joy. I mean, Betty's mother's words say it all. This news was like this incredibly bright light in a world that had become very, very dark. But even with all of this personal joy, they just couldn't escape the bigger reality. A baby was coming, yes, but the war was still raging on, and the future was still profoundly uncertain. I mean, that contrast is so incredibly stark. On the one hand, they're planning for a new life. On the other hand, the world around them is just defined by struggle. Victory was nowhere in sight, the casualty lists were getting longer, and the draft was this constant threat hanging over Fred and every other man his age. It's really incredible when you look at how fast everything happened. In just a little over 2 months, they went from a simple Valentine's toast to the future to confirming a pregnancy and sharing that incredible news. Their entire world was just flipped upside down in a matter of weeks. Which brings us right back to where we started. Betty and Fred didn't get to choose the kind of world their child would be born into, but they did get to choose how to face it. And their story really leaves us with this timeless question. When everything around you is uncertain, what does it actually mean? What does it look like to make that active, conscious choice for hope?